Hello, everyone. Once you hop on, please tag and share. Let us know where you are watching from. Before we get started, I would like to say, I have to say this Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And I'm so glad that we're able to have this discussion on this day because for a lot of people, including myself, um, my mom died when I was, about 4 or 5 years old. And so for a lot of times, this was not a happy day for me. And so I was like, oh, this, and I didn't even know this was taking place on Mother's Day. And I was like, well, this is great. This, because, I know I'm not the only one out there. So I thought this would be just an awesome topic to discuss on today. And I'm here for it and ready. So, guys, once you hop on, please tag and share, make a comment. Let us know that you are watching and where you're watching from. Once again, I want to say thank you guys for hopping on. If you're watching from the YouTube channel, do three things. Please hit the like button, subscribe button, and share button. For those who don't know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And here at Land Foundation Life Center, we have been observing all month by having different guests come in and we talk about different topics. And so, guys, we want to hear from you tonight too. If you have any questions or anything that you would like to add, please feel free to just add that in the comment section. But before we begin, we'll just have a quick word about what Land Foundation Life Center is. And then after that, we'll allow the guest tonight to introduce herself and we'll move forward from there. Let me share my screen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Land Foundation Life Center. If you are watching from our Facebook page, thank you for hopping on. Thank you for tuning in. If you are tuning in from our YouTube channel, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and share button. Now, if you're watching from our Facebook page and you haven't went and checked out our YouTube channel, please do so. Help us build up our YouTube channel page. You can do that through www. Right there. YouTube at .com/ at Solid Foundation. I want to say thanks to everyone who has already went over and liked the page and hit the like button, subscribe button, share button. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We appreciate you guys' love and your support of this nonprofit. Now, what exactly is this nonprofit? Our mission is to pour into the lives of individuals for the betterment and enrichment within the community. Now, our vision is to assist others with achieving their goals and dreams by providing teachings, workshops, and other learning opportunities. Our purpose is to raise the awareness, education, and the supplying of tools that will enable the underprivileged and at risk individuals within the community to regain control over their lives. Now, the services that we have an online Bible study. If you'd like to become a part of that, you can inbox me or email me at rnvdnprt2@gmail.com or just leave a comment in the comment section. Please add me to your Bible study group. We would love to have you become a part of that. Also, we have Restore the Breach, where we're teaching um, and empowering the community, teaching about Black history and different things like that. Also, we have community outreach events where we go out into the community and work with the youth in the community. And also, we partner with other nonprofit organizations when they going out in the community as well. We love to partner with others. Now, if you would like to volunteer here at the organization, please, or you would like more information, please email me at rnvdnprc2@gmail.com and I'll be glad to give you some more information on how you can get involved. Also, if you're looking for some internship opportunities, we have that available also. We are in real some great need of some new board members. We have 8 positions that are available, so we're looking for a president, vice president, a treasurer, a secretary, a public relations, a social connected person. And if you would like to serve on our board, please feel free to contact me also at that same email address. We would love to have you aboard. Now, I want to say thank you for hopping on. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Back to the program.
Once again, I want to say hello, hello to everyone. Once you hop on, please make a comment. Let us know that you are watching and where you're watching from. I know I want to go ahead and say once again, Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. But I want to be, I'm looking forward to this discussion tonight because I know for a lot of people, this may not be a joyous time. I know I lost my mom at an early age, and for a long time, Mother's Day was a day for me to mourn. Mother's Day was a day for me to mourn, and I did mourn a lot of them, until the Lord stepped in my life and began to heal some of those wounds that was in my life. But once again, guys, once you hop on, go ahead, make a comment, let us know that you're watching and where you're watching from. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our guest tonight.
Well, good evening. Good evening. As Miss Renee said, thank you so much for all of the mothers out there. And it does not have to be biological. All of you who have been parenting, a guardian, or a mother-like figure to those in your family, friends, or community. Thank you for what you do, and happy Mother's Day. I also want to thank the Lang Foundation's Life Center for providing us with this opportunity to learn together and offer us the resources we need to be in support of what resilience will look like for all of us. So thank you for joining us. And my name is Tamika Tribble, and I am uh, the Associate Executive Director for an organization called Parent University. I'm also an educational consultant. And what I do is I provide resources and support for the community. We have trainings that we do once a month. We have educators that will come and share information. It's all parent centric. It's about what the parents share with us that they want to learn more about, and we provide those resources to them. As an educational consultant, I'm what we call a teacher support specialist in Savannah, Chatham County. So I work with our school district and our new teachers in the district with providing them the resources they need in order to be confident and competent teachers to teach our children. So again, I'm excited about the content tonight. And in addition to that, I am a trained mental health specialist with mental health first aid and crisis intervention for youth. So we kind of know what the signs and symptoms are for children at the school level who may be experiencing some signs of depression or wanting to harm themselves or whatever that might look like. And I'm also a part of a nonprofit organization called Resilient Georgia. And with Resilient Georgia, we focus on mental health and well-being for the community. So we provide all types of trainings and activities for the school, parents, community, and first responders. So thank you again for allowing me to be here.
Awesome. I think we are speaking to the right person tonight. I think we got the right person in the house tonight. For those that don't know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and here at Land Foundation Life Center, we have been observing that all month. And tonight we're going to be talking about depression. And I could think of a better day to be discussing this on. Now, what's the percentage of how many people deal with this? Do you know? Because I was thinking about that today. Because I wanted to say, and I said, Renee, you may be wrong. I wanted to say this may be the number one thing that people deal with.
I don't know the exact percentage. That's because that's how much it grows.
Oh
It
wow.
grows so much, and we're only talking about what are we talking about? Are we talking about the percentage of people who have been diagnosed, with the
Oh,
mental health, or because it's many of us, if we're being real with talking about mental health, that this is not culturally something for some of us in our cultures and our backgrounds haven't dealt with or embraced the idea of what we call mental health. That's and
Mm.
that is a range, you know. But are we managing our mental health? And so some of it
Mm.
we have not even been diagnosed, or we haven't been evaluated to then take best care of ourselves because of what the culture has taught us that uh, that is not the thing to do, or something is wrong with you, or you know it has been in the past so much stigma behind mental health. I couldn't even give you a direct answer to what that looks like. I know when we talk about percentages, because of what the crisis intervention
Mhm.
the crisis intervention program that I'm a part of. The reason why that was established was because of a lot of the disproportionate individuals who suffer from mental health who was going to jail. And it started with the
Oh,
youth who were
it
juvenile.
started with the youth.
Yeah, well, this is
Wow.
what this particular crisis intervention pro team was created for, to help
Okay.
to train our first responders and our police officers and people security who deal with juvenile, to
Oh,
understand that oftentimes it may not just be a behavior, but it's a mental health that has gone undiagnosed and untreated, you know. And so we began to train them in that way, to help them to understand what that looks like. So when we talk about those numbers, so according to the juvenile, for example, let me make sure I'm clear here. 70% of the youth in contact with juvenile justice systems has a diagnosis of health conditions. That's
wow.
70%.
Wow.
So that's more than half. 60% of those
Wow.
youth have a co-occurring use disorder. So they've had some other
Wow.
things that has
Hmm.
been happening. And 90% of these youth experience traumatic victimization. So again, it could be looked at, or it's labeled as behavior.
Hmm.
But again, no one has checked in and did the proper evaluations to provide the proper resources and support for our youth. So those are some statistics. And again, you know, it's just so much that is not that has gone unnoticed or
Wow.
undiagnosed.
Wow. That, see, I was thinking about that. I was like, I wonder what the numbers is. That blows my mind. Like that even infused my fire and my passion even the more. Like, Renee, you got to get out here. We got to do something about this. We got to remove that stigma so people can go get the help, so they can go get the help that their children need. And so all this stuff feed off of each other. So wow, that's mind blowing. Can you kind of, since we started this already, can you kind of tell us what depression is?
Well, depression is, well, there's a couple of different ways we can look at depression, but depression has been diagnosed as a, a disorder where you are imbalanced in a way at times. Some deal with chronic depression, or some may have moments of depression where you may deal with certain emotions
Hmm.
that you don't know how to handle or manage, right? It's a level of a chemical imbalance that happens, and it could change your mood for sure. It can make you feel certain feelings and think certain thoughts that you wouldn't typically do if you were regulated or if you were in balance. So again, you know, we were just told that, you know, you're just having a bad day, or you know, you need to get it together,
Yes.
or be good or stop being bad. When we talk about kids, you know, be good or stop being bad. But some of the symptoms you will see, if you want me to go into that,
Yes,
uh,
I do.
some of the symptoms
Definitely.
you will see in someone with depression could vary as well. So it could look like mood swings. It could look like, you know, if you know that your child, for example, let's just talk about children. If you know that your child is typically a child that bubbly, happy, has friends most of the time, and now they're shut down. They're in a cocoon. They're not communicating with you. They're not communicating with any friends. They're shut off. They may stay in their room and have their doors shut.
Mm.
If they typically have good hygiene and they're not
Wow.
cleaning themselves, they don't want to clean themselves. They don't want to get a haircut. They don't want to eat. You
Mm.
may have your appetite may change. So these type of things is what we might notice in ourselves or even in our children or our loved ones, that we may consider that there may be something else going on.
Wow. That's amazing. Like that's sometimes when you know what to look for, because I have noticed some changes in some children, but I thought maybe that's just part of them growing up or growing pains, or but that what I seen a very major shift. So you just opened my mind. I may know a number of kids that's around me that's depressed in, or that's
And
dealing with some depression.
you made a good point. And sometimes it is when we call it growing pains, or it's just uh, they're developing. It's a part of development that
Mhm.
sometimes their hormones change and they have those levels up. But we know what that looks like as far as the age range to that.
Mhm.
That may happen between 9 and 12, give or take, to those teenage and high school years. Well, they'll have that imbalance from time to time. Um, but if it is something that is consistent
Mhm.
and persistent over time, that they can't seem to get out of this kind of rut, and it's a major shift to
Mhm.
who they are, then that could look a little different than just the typical child, or child that is going through developmental changes.
Okay. Good. 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 Thank you for clearing that up for me because then I was like, I don't know why I'm like this, but I took a class, I forgot what it was called, but it talked about different behaviors and tiers and different things like that when I was in college. And I went around trying to diagnose everybody. After I took the class, everybody, all my friends were like, Renee, if you don't put that book down, I'm gonna hurt you. Here I come with my book, girl. I was so happy to be taking that class. I'm like, let me see what you got.
Well, Renee, let me tell you, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I have my my graduate degree is in special education, and I tell you, before I diagnose anyone else, I diagnose myself with everything that I can think of. I was like, oh, whatever they would say, so I say, oh, that's me. Oh goodness, that's me. So yeah, I have a couple of different things happening.
Oh,
But yes, I see that there's a question.
no. Uh-huh.
Uh,
It said, are
from
counselors in school trained to help students, or do they just tell them it's growing pains?
Well, that is a good question, Melanie. And it depends on, of course, the school district. So I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and a lot of our counselors has gone through the same training that I went through for the crisis intervention teams. And so we were created into teams to help to support the students at our schools. So it's some counselors that were involved in that training, teachers that were involved in that training, and some other staff at the school on school site that was also trained with that what we call CIT. So yes, in our district, they are trained, and of course, as we know it, as we're talking about now, that sometimes it's a little bit more than just growing pains, and the evaluation will kind of that will kind of determine what that looks like for the individual, child, of course. But that is a great question, and that is a question, if you do have any children in school, that you could ask your counselors, that are you trained to deal with the mental health, with the students, or even if you don't ask, are they trained? What does your process look like? What is your plan of action, if you or do you what are those signs and symptoms that you look for if a student is depressed, or if a student is that may be experiencing some signs of wanting to harm themselves, to do
Mhm.
harm, with themselves? So that is a very valid question to ask your school administrators or counselors or social workers at the schools.
I have another question now. All the signs that you gave, do those signs look the same is in an adult as it would in a child, or how does it shows up in an adult life?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it could look the same. It could look the same. It could be shut down, or it could be extreme. That you are, normally it's your loved ones that you're kind of lashing out, to because of what you may be experiencing that you don't know how to handle, those emotions that you don't know how to handle. But it could very well be shut down. You don't want to talk to any friends, any family or loved ones. You're in your room, lights off. You don't want to eat anything. If you have medication that you would typically take daily, you don't feel like taking your medication. You don't feel like you can do anything right. A lot of times and then you'll hear, we as trained crisis intervention teams will hear a student that's always saying, oh, they begin to say, I can't do anything right, or everything I do, I'm not as smart as the other kid or the other student or my classmate. So those are some of the things that an adult may experience, or they may just keep asking the questions, or they don't think they're pretty enough or smart enough, or just the types of things that they begin to condemn themselves. Those are definitely signs that you just want to pay attention to and see how consistent that is.
Mm, that's good. I'm sitting here thinking about my relationships with people. um,
Yes.
wow. So if somebody seen you, because this has happened, if somebody send you a message, how should you handle this? If somebody send you a message saying they're better off dead, or they wish they were dead, or they might as well be dead. I mean, how
Mhm.
do you should you take that serious? I mean, how serious is that when somebody send you a message like that?
That's a good question. I want to say we want to always take it serious,
Okay.
because if the parents, and I want to send my love out to those families who have experienced some level of a child being harmed or dying by suicide, because some of them may have heard, their child saying that, and they thought, well, maybe it's not that serious. Maybe they're just going through a hard time right now, and that they wish that they could, turn back the hands of times and say, or they share that now with others, and they're being a support to others and saying, no, I need you to listen to that. If
Okay.
the child is telling you that, if an adult is telling you that, to listen to it. I have a Georgia hotline here that we can share later on, that they can call, but ask the questions. There was a statistic out before, and it was with children actually and adults, um, who asked them, well, what made you change your mind, or what made you think different if you wanted to harm yourself? And they was like, it was just the validation that someone asked me the question, because
Okay.
they felt unseen, and that they were like no one else was thinking the thoughts, that they felt alone, right? No one else is thinking these thoughts, no one else is feeling these feelings, and that's a horrible place to be when you feel like you're in it alone. And
Mm,
so it was just sometimes someone recognizing and validating that there is something going on, and asking them, straight up asking them, do you want to harm yourself, or do you want to die by suicide?
mm,
That has been the most interesting thing, because, oftentimes you think, I don't want to plant that seed, right?
yeah. Right.
But they have found from the individuals themselves who said they wanted to harm themselves, or at the time felt like they wanted to die by suicide, they just wanted somebody to ask them the question. They
Wow.
wanted they wanted to feel heard, so then they could then have the conversation about, yeah, well, yes, I've been feeling this way. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know why I'm having these emotions. I don't know why, you know, because now they feel like someone has validated that, okay, and this is a thing, and that we're now able to tell them, you're not alone, and there is help available, and I'm here with you to ground them, you
Okay.
know. Mhm.
Yeah, I've had some people send me stuff like that, and I was like, oh, what do I do with this? But
Yeah.
anyway, I've heard this too, and I want to say To those who are in ministry, please tag and share this. All these that we share, because let me tell you something, if you're going to serve the community, if you really going to get in there and serve that community and you care for it, I'm telling you, baby, you're going to come across these issues, and sometimes in masses numbers. And so this is good information. Please, please, please tag and share this for pastors, evangelists, teachers, nonprofit organizations. These are good information. Anybody that's coming in contact and working with other people, I'm telling you, these type of people will come across your path a lot. You'll find out it a lot of times.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And then it helps us to recognize in ourselves what
Yes.
is happening or what could be happening that we have not addressed,
Mhm.
right? But also when you think about mental health, you think about, okay, I may have to go to a clinic, or I may have to go and people are going to know and I'm going to be labeled as this.
Mhm.
But there's lots of non-traditional ways to ensure that your well-being and your mental health is being cared for. For example, with Parent University, again, we're located in three different places now. We're foundationally we were um, out of Savannah, Georgia. So that's where I'm currently, in Savannah, Georgia. But our executive director, he created Parent University in Savannah, but now we have launched a Parent University in Chicago, two places in
Wow.
Chicago and in Pensacola, Florida. And we're looking at Atlanta. But in these spaces, we create safe spaces, non-judgmental spaces,
Mhm.
where it is okay for them to share with us what they really need. And post COVID, after COVID, whereas before it would be kind of, okay, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to share about my mental health. After COVID, that kind of opened the floodgate to say, you know what? I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And what are the resources available for me? And so we started to listen. So
Mm.
during COVID, we would typically meet in person.
Mhm.
We would choose a different school location, right, on a given Saturday. Everything is free childcare, transportation, breakfast, lunch. All the trainings are free. We do gift card giveaways and things to
Mm.
celebrate their lifelong learning. But with that, we sought the experts in our community that dealt directly with the types of mental health that they said they needed to support.
Mm.
And so we had almost every event that we had someone there talking about mental health, mental well-being, physical well-being. And so that began. So we began to do it virtually. We could not meet in person. So we would break out into breakout sessions, and we would have about 5 or 6 different sessions. And we're guaranteed to have one of them would be mental health. So that was a non-traditional way. So they didn't feel like it was that invasive, like it's you're going to a clinical location, right? A lot of us may have issues with that. Maybe later on we can do that if we need to. But we want to begin where we feel comfortable, where we feel like we're not judged, right? And we just need the help. And so Parent University for 25 years has been offering that environment
Mhm.
where families, parents, community leaders, where they feel comfortable. We have about 200 families that join us every time we have an event every month.
Wow.
And so we create that space.
Wow.
So there
Did y'all hear that number? Did y'all hear that number?
that's
That's let you know where we are, as a whole, as a community. This is something needed.
absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely that they join us and they bring their children and they have a space. Their children are being taken care of by our great child care providers. But this is a space where they can say, I am checking on my mental health. And I didn't necessarily at this point have to go to a clinic or pay money. Everything is, not free as well. But this opportunity is free. And we
Mhm.
seek those. And another thing we do is we just started doing barbershop conversations.
Mhm.
And so now we're going into the barbershops and we're
Wow.
asking the barbers and the beauticians, what is it you want to learn more about? What is it that the people are in your chair? Because we do go in there and we're starting to do 3 quick tips, just really quick, boom, boom, boom. So we may go, and for example, the first one we're going to do, I think, on financial literacy or something, but the next one is going to be on some mental health tips. And
Mhm.
because so many people are in and out of their chairs, we're going to
Yes.
go in there and we're going to give a few quick tips. and then we're going to be out. But in that moment, we're also going to
That's a good
provide
idea.
them with cards and information to say, if you want more, here's a resource. Here's
Mm,
an organization and agency that deals with mental health. We're going to provide that as well. But that's a non-traditional location.
yes.
Sometimes we have to come to them as you're talking about the community and how we can be in more support. It doesn't always have to look like the traditional way. You have to grab people and catch them where they are.
Mhm.
And because culturally, we haven't always, certain cultures haven't always felt comfortable with going into those spaces, whether it's a hospital or a clinic or counseling, then let's go to them. And then after a while, if they're comfortable enough, maybe they will find a place or find a counselor or someone that they feel more comfortable with. But we got to start meeting them where they are first.
That's good. That's good. Now, this reminds me too. I want to ask you about this because a lot of people who commit suicide, their family members like, I just left them and they were happy and there were no signs. So what do you say to something like that?
Well, we first always want to make sure that the person who has a loved one who has just died by suicide, that we want to make sure that they don't feel that they are responsible for that person dying by suicide. That's important because now we're focused on their mental health as well.
Mhm.
And so we want to ensure that they know this is not your fault, you know, that they've done the best that they could with the knowledge that they were given. You don't know what you don't know. Um, but again, even if it's not in the things that the child says or the individual, the adult says, it could be on what they begin to do also. So another thing they often do is they start to give away things. They may begin to sell their precious belongings, things that they would never part with. They begin to sell those things or their clothing. Those are other signs. But we just have to let them know that it's not their fault. And they didn't know. And they did the best job that they can do with the information that they had. And we have to leave it because they will go on forever thinking, what could I have done? How could I have done different? What didn't I see? What signs? So that's important for them to know. It's not your fault.
Okay. Melanie said, "Why do you think children nowadays are so quick to head to suicide or take guns to school? Is it something you think we can do as parents, ministers, or community to help?"
For Melody, thank you for your great questions. Um, what we can continue to do is look out for the signs as parents, as professionals, as a part of the community, for our neighbors and children in our community. Just begin to take a look at the signs and don't ignore the signs. Um, so that's what we can do, number one. And there again, there's resources, and we're going to provide you with a couple of apps. One app is called iChill, and that's a way to triage. Like if a child, it's first aid. If it's something is going on with the child, it is ways that they can begin to ground themselves right now. If they're having an anxiety attack, if some sort of trauma has happened, and you feel that their well-being is at stake, their mental well-being is at stake, there are certain things that they can do. Take some deep breaths. Take deep breaths. Bring them back to some sort of experience that was fun for them, that was an
Mm,
enjoyable experience. It could be a picture on the wall. It could be some activity that they've done before, someone they was with,
mhm.
something that they love, a smell that they love, a piece of clothing or blanket or a teddy bear that they love. Sometimes they just need to feel grounded. They just feel like they're out there. And that's why a lot of times you would hear about a child that may harm themselves or, that may cut at themselves because they just need to feel that they're still here, that they're still real, because it's like this out of body experience sometimes that they feel. So we want to give them some things to help to ground themselves. It can be as simple as water. Let's drink water. Let's take a couple deep breaths. Let's think good thoughts. Again, it could be visually, it can be things that they hear, it could be music, it can be all these things that we just didn't know So then we will act out in another way, right? Because, again, I was just talking to my nephews about this. We have date night on Mondays, and then I take both of my nephews, and we go to different locations, Dairy Queen, McDonald's, and I do tutorial with them. But I also talk to them about behavior because they're boys and they're real boys. So, and they're both, one is going into middle school and the other one is already in middle school. And I have these conversations about their feelings and their behavior. Of
Mhm.
course, men, when we think about it, you're not taught to feel anything or just,
Mhm.
have emotions. They just have
Yeah.
to just be this manly, prideful person. And so that's when you start to oftentimes make the violence come in because they haven't been trained or conditioned to take care of themselves in any other way or to manage
Mm.
their emotions or feelings in any other way.
Mhm.
So that's where we have to begin to teach them how to do that and that it's okay to do that. And it makes you no less than the great man or young man that you are.
Mhm.
And so I started talking to my nephews about what to do in school if you're
Mhm.
having a situation instead of kicking a wall or you know, they'll knock over a desk, or I'm not saying that my nephews do that, but these are the type of behaviors that I've seen as an
Mhm.
educator. Things
Yes.
because they don't know how to deal with their feelings.
Yes.
But could you just step another seat over? Or could you just take some deep breaths right now before you make a choice that you may regret later? Is there a way where you can walk over to the teacher and let them know what's going on? Or if you can walk out? Sometimes there's safe spaces in school where they'll say, if you're feeling this kind of way, go to this room here or walk out. Are you taking advantage of any of those other opportunities that you have to get away when you're feeling a certain way? Is it a journal? Are you writing something? Are you drawing something on a second? You might be in math right now. But as a teacher, I would say take a minute. If you feel in a certain kind of way, flip the page, do a little drawing, do a little journaling, something that calms you in this moment. You know, and so I would do those type of coping skills with them. So as parents, we can do those same things to help our children. And that iChill app is a great app because it takes you right to it. It's on there. They can download it on their phone. Children can download it. I had my daughter download it on her phone. She can click on the app, and even if they're not readers, it's audio as well. So they can click the button, and the audio would tell them exactly what to do in this moment, how to be calm, how to do these things. So I think that's another great avenue as well. There was another part of that question that I wanted to answer.
Okay.
Just trying to remember what it was.
Mhm. Is
Oh
it
yes,
something you think we can do as parents, ministers, or community to help? Or was it the part where you say nowadays kids quick to head to suicide and taking guns to school?
let's think about that for a minute because again, Melanie, that's a great question. Let's consider that. Back, I don't want to say back in our days because I don't know how everyone's age, but back in my day, we did not have social media like that, right? We didn't have that. So whenever someone was to talk bad about us, whenever we were to hear about all the whatever was going on in our community, we hear from what? We we'd hear from the TV or we'd hear from the radio. And at a certain time of my childhood, the TV would go off at a certain age. So
Yeah.
you wasn't hearing it all the time,
Yeah.
24/7.
Yes.
The TV and the news would go off.
Yeah.
And you would only hear so much, right?
Right.
But now the world has opened up to them just at their fingertips of a phone. They're able to get way too much knowledge that their brains can handle. So could you imagine us being children and now having access to way too much, whether it's bullying, whether it's what's going on in your community, what's going on in your city, around the world, all of this that our brains was not, we weren't initially developed to manage all of this. How do you manage all of this information at one time?
Mhm.
It is enough to make anyone, you know, with not the right backing and support or mental health to do some things that we're seeing now.
Mhm.
It's overwhelming, it's overstimulating, to
Mm.
a person who can't manage that and
Mhm.
has no management of that and no one around them to help them manage it, it's way too much. So they break down and they do these things. And unfortunately, now we have much more access to things like guns.
Mhm.
And of course, they're not as sensitive to things like guns and shooting because we have our video games and all those type of things and movies that now you used to have to you would only be able to see it on HBO and it would only come on at a certain time of day, and now it's all over all the time and it's uncensored.
Mhm.
No one monitors how often they see this, so it's just another thing. It's a way of life. It has become a way of life to them,
Norm, the norm,
unfortunately.
the norm. Two, I want to say this to Melanie's questions. I don't want to make this a black and white thing, but for a lot of times in the black community, anger is the only emotion that we feel free showing and
Mm,
that we can show freely. We
mm,
can show that one more easily than we can love. Love feels weird. It don't feel normal, but to show anger and to be angry, that's normal. That could be from a number different, coming from another. I like what you said, those stimulants. That could be coming from many different facets. The home life, that's where it's being exemplified in the home or in the
mhm,
community. That's how the community is behaving. And then you, like you said, globally or at large, because we have all this information. So we've been living like in this pressure cooker. And so anger is the number one thing that we feel free. And I'm going to speak for myself. I've had to deal with that. Like Renee, you feel so free with going off on somebody or being
mm.
angry or being upset. But when it comes to love and showing love, because we talked about this in Bible study, and I said, I'm determined to get this thing right before I leave this earth. Um,
Mm,
it,
mm,
I remember when I first came to my spiritual parents, like they were so loving. I was like, these people want something. These people up to something. And
mm.
I could not receive that for nothing in the world. But if somebody showed me anger, then hey, I know that and I know how to respond. But this love thing, this is feeling weird. And so how do you deal with that for people who to at first we don't know what it is, we don't know how to give it, we don't know how to receive it. It just
Mhm,
feels weird. And when I'm in
mm.
those spaces, I'm still like, Lord, help me because it just don't, it just, it's getting me out of the box. You
Yeah.
know.
You're speaking for so many people who have felt that way, and that's real. But just think about it. What has been modeled for us? Again, when we watch TV and we watch shows, what's celebrated? What's celebrated is the anger. Whenever you see that, you're like, okay, yeah, he cool. Yeah, he know how. That's the celebrated one, the one that's always angry, or the one but the one who is of love and peace, that was seen as a sign of weakness, you
Yeah,
know.
that's how it
Um,
was in my family. Yeah.
that was seen as a sign of
That's how my
weakness,
brother,
right?
yeah, that's how my brother
Mhm.
raised us. Yeah, you're
So
right.
then you didn't want to be that person because now
Mm-mm.
you feel like you were vulnerable and opened yourself
Mhm.
up to all types of, you know,
Abuse.
ab- uh, levels of abuse, right? And that's the way it was looked at. But I
Yeah.
think the only way to combat that is to continue to model love. They
Okay.
need to see so much of it
Uh,
to extinguish the anger that they've experienced for so long that they thought that that is what it should look like to be celebrated. So
that's
we have to
dangerous.
continue to be the good, to be the kind ones, to show them what love can look like, and that is okay. But we have to continue to do that in order for them to embrace it. It's just like with anything else in our brains, we have catalogs, right? And
Mhm.
so whatever experiences that we've had, we take that along with us. So if we have a catalog of 10,000 times that we were treated badly, and we only have 10 times that we were treated kind, that's a little uncomfortable because we're not conditioned that way to feel like that's how we should be treated and how we're supposed to be treated. So just as you mentioned, then what do they want from me, or what are they trying to get, or what are they how are they trying, they're trying to scheme,
Yeah.
or it's something that it doesn't make me comfortable. So then I go into this type of survival mode, where I don't want to deal with it. But when they begin to see so much of it, and it's done with fidelity and with the level of consistency, then their brains have enough of it.
But how do we tap into that? Like, okay, you want to love and be loving and all these things, but you just not connecting. It ain't connecting for you. I mean, how do you get it to connect?
Say that one more time. I was just reading Melanie's question as well.
Okay. I'm sorry, Melanie.
She's having great questions. I'm glad her son is with her too. I'm glad, Melanie. I'm glad your son is with you.
How do we get it to connect? I mean, you're wanting to be this, and you're trying to do this, and you're trying your best to get here, and you're around people, but you just the connection. You just can't. You ain't connecting. You're not feeling anything. Because people can be done suppress their feelings and emotions for so long till you just get numb, and then you don't feel nothing.
Yeah, and that is where the help comes in. And I hope that that person has enough people or a person. It was one person that saved my life in school. So it doesn't have to be a whole group of us, but starting with one person asking the right questions. Is there anyone, do they go to and it's same for Melanie and her son, that if you're feeling a consistency, and first of all, I want to acknowledge that if your son is telling you that you already have a good relationship with your son to where he's able to articulate that with you and that he feels comfortable with articulating that with you. Because there's so many times that our children don't feel like that type of conversation matters, and they don't have that type of rapport and bond with us, that they're able to be real about their feelings. So that tells me that you embrace your son, and he's communicating with you in that way. So thank you for that. I would definitely suggest asking questions. So is there a certain thing that has happened? Is there certain experiences that you are having? Is there whether it's connected to school? I'm not sure how old your son is, whether it's connected to school or some experiences in the community or whatever it may be. Is there some things? Because sometimes it's not until we think back or we reflect that we realize, oh, you know what, that may be it, or sometimes if we're taking any type of medication, sometimes medication makes us feel anxious or angry or have mood swings that we didn't know, but if we can also act, okay, so then, and then 13 is also an age where they are growing, so they are having some hormonal shifts. But if it's something that is consistent like that, we definitely want to speak with the physician about that, the pediatrician about that, and see what they suggest, because they may have some other. I would definitely start there as well. But because you already have that open line of communication with your son, I would definitely continue to ask him some questions that may lead into something deeper that even he wasn't aware of, that was bothering him.
She had put on I'm sorry. Please,
no,
be rude. But she had put on that he's saying that he's waking up angry in the morning for no reason. I mean, he can't tell her what the reason is. He can't locate what the reason.
He can't locate it. So then in that case, and again, sometimes they don't know until you start prompting certain questions. Certain questions will prompt them to say, oh, I didn't think about that, I think is what I was saying to that. Like, well, what did you do yesterday, or what happened the day before that? Is there anything that, but I would definitely suggest that you have a conversation with your son's pediatrician, and so that if there's anything to evaluate, because we want to make sure that it doesn't reach another level, of any type of, we want to make sure that he is safe. So I would definitely suggest to go that route first. And there's other resources and evaluating questions that they'll ask as well to help to be able to support for your son. But I'm so glad the first step is to having the communication with him, and that he's talking to you. That's major.
That is major. That is major.
They even found sometimes that there's certain foods that we eat that
Mhm.
has our moods to shift and have us feeling a certain kind of way. There could be so much behind it. And so thank you, Melanie, for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I can relate to her, son. Like I had to deal with that too. Like, why you staying mad all the time? And it was just like it seems like sometimes when you get in a rut and you're just dealing with the same old thing and you're dealing with the same old thing and you just get frustrated and about having to keep going in that same way and dealing with that same thing over and over and
Mhm.
over again. It just seems like you're not getting anywhere. That could kind of
Mm.
trigger some anger or whatever. But I want to get back to how do we connect? Okay, you're trying to connect.
Yes, yes. Tell me that again.
I,
Ask me that
I
again. Yes,
want you
yes.
want to disconnect from the anger. You
Mm-hmm.
understand, like,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to connect to the love, but you're there and you're going. It's just like you're just going. Do you just keep going through the motion because you're not feeling anything? You're not. It just feel like you ain't getting anywhere. I'm not connecting. I mean, how do help us, sister? Help us out.
No, I think that's a great so
I don't
so
even know how to explain this. Like,
no, I know what you're saying, and it reminds me of when I was in a situation, and it wasn't could have been it's more trauma related, but for some time I didn't know what I was getting out of being in those supported environments. Because
mhm,
again, at the time, I really didn't know what I didn't know, but what I
mhm,
knew was the first step was to be around more positive people,
okay,
and it took some time to understand. It was like it happened in pockets of time where it was like, oh, I get it now. It was certain things that happened to say, like you just stay in there long enough. You
mhm,
stay connected long enough. You stay in the right environments long enough.
mhm,
Because in that environment, you may begin to um, determine your own um, determine what your own passion is
mhm,
that you may begin to seek, certain activities that may help to open you up and support you on your journey. But so to your question, it doesn't always happen overnight.
okay,
It's not always something that happens. You find a couple people and you're surrounded by a good support system, and then tomorrow you feeling 100% or not even 90%. But it's to
okay,
stick in there, long enough. And here's the thing: if your long enough is not working and you're feeling worse, then you do better.
okay.
You need to seek help.
Mm,
It's
that's very
important to seek help. If you know that you're not getting, because we don't want to wait until last minute. If you've connected with your community, you're surrounded by, good a good community, good individuals that's showing you support, and you still don't feel like it's enough. I need you to get the help that you need. There is mental health resources in every community. Again, I know that but I have a Georgia
good.
crisis line. But there's also a national crisis line that you can call. And what they could do is connect you to the direct resources in the city in which you live.
Okay.
But you want to seek help. I don't want you to underestimate what it looks like for yourself. We talk about that
Mhm.
underestimating for other, people and what we see in others. Well, we don't want to underestimate that for ourselves and say, okay, I'll be better maybe next week,
Yeah.
or a couple weeks come and you're still not better, then we need to seek help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I want to ask this. I know we getting close on time. This is so good. Okay. How do you deal with somebody who is dealing with depression? I mean, how do you deal with somebody? I get, and I like the fact that you said y'all create your the place that you work for. You create a safe space. So I think what I'm hearing is like you got to create a safe space for these people to share
Mm,
with you without saying you're so stupid and you're so
mm,
dumb and this don't make no sense. And then going and talking about them behind their back and telling other people. Love can solve this, people. Let me tell you that. That's what I'm getting. Love. This ain't Bible study. Okay, Renee, stay focused.
no, that's
So
focus. That's focus. That's focus. That
so
is.
how how
Mhm.
how do you deal with somebody who deal with depression? They won't go get help. I mean, how do you get can you get them to realize that you might need to go get some help, you might need to take some medication, and just how do you deal with people who deal with depression?
Yeah, and so first, you said it right. First, you have to greet them with kindness and love and a non-judgmental environment for them to even share with you that they're feeling this way. So that's first and foremost. Regardless of what they're saying they're feeling, to not make them feel any less than. You want to give them positive words of encouragement and tell them, how amazing they are and they're needed here in this life. We need them here. They're fit, just whatever you can, whatever you know about that person, depending on what's going on in their life. Continue the positive affirmations with them. But also share, because sometimes if you're not going through something, they don't want to hear everything that you want them to do. Like you might need to be on medication, stuff like that.
Okay.
Because they're like, oh, you're not on, you don't know how that feels, or you don't know
Yeah.
what that looks like. You
Yeah.
can't. But I would even seek support groups of others to say that,
That's
what,
good.
there's other people that are feeling the way you are feeling. Here is information about, maybe you can have a conversation with them. You definitely want to suggest them talking to that, if ask them first, if you don't know, if they have a doctor, if they have a doctor that they can go to, because the doctor will refer, if they need to refer them to any other mental health specialist,
Hmm.
the doctor will refer them there. But you
Okay.
want them to go through, some, so they can get clinical support if it's something that, like you said, it's consistent. That they're dealing with consistent depression. They're not able to get things done. Some is so bad that they're not able to maintain jobs,
Yeah.
those type of things, but knowing that they can talk to others who are, yeah, you can say, I'm not feeling what you're feeling right now. So I don't want you to think that I'm telling you to do, but I know that there's some out there and here's this information. So I would definitely equip myself, or for anyone who's listening, equip yourself with some information in your community, some resource in your community that you could offer to your loved one, who that is experiencing these things.
Hmm. That's good. That's good. Before we end, um, it's Mother's Day. And what would you say to those who this may be their first Mother's Day without their mother,
Mm,
or they lost their child, or they never were able to have children?
mm. First, to be kind to yourself. Mindfulness and self compassion is real. We don't do it enough. I need you to love yourself through this moment. And my condolences to anyone who has lost their mother, whether it been this year, this is the first year that you're without your mother, or it's been years. It could still hurt the same. Or if you're not a biological parent, but you have parented, um, but to love yourself first, um, and think of all the wonderful memories, and hopefully you had great memories that you can think of, and continue to inundate yourself with those type of memories that will warm your heart during this time, and surround yourself with people who make you feel good. Surround yourself with people, whether it's friends or family, that you can feel vulnerable around at this time, that you can be vulnerable around, that you can say to them, I'm not okay. I need to lay on your couch today. Can I do that? Can I just, be? Can I just be? And sometimes that's it. Sometimes you don't want to have a long talk with somebody about it. Sometimes be okay with that. Be okay with all the time. You just want to be in the presence of positive people. And if
Hmm.
you're one of religion, you can say a prayer, ask God to help you during this time, to give you peace that surpasses all, even in what you still don't understand about what happened. But know that you are loved, and that we are praying for you, and you have a community that backs you and supports you.
Hmm. That's good. That's good. Oh man, I know this has been too good. We definitely we could go so deep when it comes to
Mhm.
dealing with depression and talking about depression, because it can look like listening to you, it sounds like it could look like it could show up in many different ways in
Oh
people's
yeah,
lives, and that
absolutely.
children deal with this as well. And say, I wasn't really thinking about children when I was talking about this. So I'm glad you brought that up. The children deal with this as well, and this has just been amazing. This has been really good. It's 8 o'clock. I try to give an hour. I want to say thank you to everyone for hopping on. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your amazing questions. Thank you to our lovely guest tonight. This has been so good. I look forward to times to sit down and talk. It's like sitting down at the on the therapy couch.
Yes, I thank you. Thank you so much for again for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm just, if anyone don't mind, I'll just say a quick prayer and I'll turn it back over to tonight's guest if she has any closing words. Thank you for this opportunity just to come together and just share with each other. Father God, if anybody is dealing with any depression, Lord, I ask that you just touch their heart right now. I ask that you pour in the oil and the wine. Father God, if anybody having a hard time receiving love or dealing with suicide or suicidal thoughts, Lord God, or thoughts of harming themselves, I pray that they get the courage and find the courage to seek the help that they need and ask for the help that they need, Father God. For you said if we ask, we will find. If we knock, the door going to open. Hallelujah. We just thank you, Father God, that we're building up the courage and we're removing the stigma around mental health and all these things. In your dear son's name, we pray and we thank you, Lord. Amen and amen. I'm going to turn it over to you for closing words.
Amen. I just want to say that you are loved, and be kind to someone. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you. Well, I hope everyone has had a blessed day and that you have a great evening. Thank you for tuning in.